Hi, this short video will provide a quick walkthrough of some of ERS's retail analytics and demand planning capabilities. We're unique in the market. We merge our deep retail experience and wholesale planning expertise and technology we've perfected over the last 2 decades with the power of Microsoft's Power BI and Fabric platform. The result is a set of tools that can be tailored to your specific business. We approach inventory management as a comprehensive discipline, studying the business at both high and detailed levels. I'm recording this live, so you can see exactly how it works. So please forgive the boring item numbers and descriptions and anything else that I've used here for demonstration purposes. Okay, let's get started. The first page that we're looking at here is what we call the start page, and it's where it gives us basic information on sales and in general how our business is doing. The nice thing about this as well is it kind of just looks like an app, even though it's in Power BI. These are all functioning buttons that take you to different parts of the application. And we have some very simple drill downs here between platforms and categories and so on and so forth. Then we have some top and bottom performance metrics here. This is where we start to kind of ascertain the power of the program. We can see here, let's make this a little bit larger, our top items, and they have a very sophisticated, the system has a very sophisticated ranking system in the background and assigns each item a letter grade. And not only that, but also in the background is doing recommendations on what to do with this particular item. And you'll see a little more of that in a moment. And then those are your top items. Over here, the poor performing items over here, and you can kind of see they're all graded E level there. If we scroll down a little bit, we have some of the cool visualizations built into Power BI, the influencer in this case, that combs through data and uses AI to find trends that most likely we would not be able to find on our own. Again, very high level information. Now we'll get into some more detailed information here, where we're looking at item performance. And you can see these are all our items down here. Very simple information. Inventory, weeks of supply, what was sold last week, and of course the performance metrics. Not just numbers here, but also verbiage. Top performer, bottom performer, so on and so forth. And the inventory health, whether it's healthy or low, so on and so forth. And what's nice here is you can click on your menu up here. If I click on buy, it shows me only those items that need to be bought or those items that need to be marked down. So it's very simple to use. You can search for items if you have thousands or hundreds of thousands of items so that things will boil up to the top here. Very nice. On sales range, you can come in and select different time frames to look at data. And that's essentially what we're doing here. And you can select which items you want to show in the grid over here through these select fields to display. And 100% of what I'm showing here is customizable. So depending on your data sets, we can map anything and then make them all available to show the way you want to look at your data. And again, drilling virtually everywhere throughout the system. That's kind of the start screen, which is very basic item information. If we move now to the forecast, this is where it gets very interesting. And again, there are several different pages set up here, but you have the ability to customize it any way that you want. We're on the recap screen here, which very simply is a roll-up, in this case at product category level, and it's showing us annual estimates for each category and sales estimates for the next 18 months. And we'll talk a minute about how we actually get to those numbers. And let's do that by starting with kind of the month-to-month forecast. And this is something you might be more familiar with how you forecast. But essentially what's happening here is we're at item level, and we're looking at each month at a time. So the numbers between the blue bars represent a month. So this is month 1, month 2, month 3, and so on and so forth. And essentially the way this particular forecast is working, there's different models. This one is taking sales from a period of time where there was consistent selling. It's looking for any lost sales, and if lost sales are found, it's building that back into the basis. And then it's saying, okay, over this period of time when we had sales, what percentage of that business is it worth based on the seasonality and promotional cadence of that item? So each item is assigned to a model with those characteristics in mind. And once it understands the seasonality, it can then say, okay, if I sold this amount during this period of time and that period of time was worth, say, 10% of the year, then I can extrapolate that out to any other month or week throughout the year. That's essentially how it works. If we start here on the left, we have our, in this case, warehouse on hand. So this will take different buckets of inventory, whether you have distribution centers or 3PLs, inventory, sitting on the shelf, store level inventory, all different buckets of inventory, to say, here's our beginning on hand at the very beginning of this current month. And you'll next see the target on hand. And the target on hand is basically what we want to have on hand, not what we do have on hand, but what we want to have on hand. And that's based on a weeks of supply model. And those are parameters that you set up in the system, and you can have multiple strategies of weeks of supply. So one period of the year, you want it to be one weeks of supply model, and then maybe in the back half you want to increase that, and so on and so forth. So that's the model. You can see here in the first example, we have a target on hand. We'll look at this one right here. We have only 112 units on hand, but our target on hand is 1,538. And we're going to sell 529 units. And that's going to leave a deficit of 417 units, which is essentially 112 minus 529. So really, we're not even going to sell the 529 because we don't own it. In the first item up here, you can see similarly, we have 659, although we want to have 1413. Nothing we can do about that yet. We have 545 units coming in. That's on order, and that reads from our WIP. We're going to sell 486, so we're going to end the month here at 718, right? Now, if we look at the beginning on hand, or the target on hand for the next month, it's 1565. We're well short of that, right? Because our beginning on hand's only 718. So really, we should be placing a buy right here in month 1 to get us to that target on hand. So why are all the buys 0? The reason for that is that our lead time is 2 months. So we can't get it even if we want to get it. But in the next month, you can see what happens here. If we follow the same premise, we start with 718. We're going to sell 441. We're going to end the month at 1124, but we want to be over here, the target on hand, at 1605, and that's a deficit of 847 units. So that's what we need to buy. So it's very simple. The system is estimating sales, lining it up against the inventory, the on order, and any shortfall is a buy that needs to be made. And you can see that in yellow as we move across into the additional months going across for 18 months. So that is kind of our reconciliation of inventory. And then there are some other screens here to clean it up, give you clean views. This is simply sales estimates by item and kind of tells you this is what you sold in the last 12 weeks. This is how many units were lost, estimated lost sales, the curve percent, and the annual estimate for that item. So that's sales. These are the recommended buys. These were those columns in yellows. But here we're putting it in one concise view so that you could very simply just download this and feed it into ERP or your ordering system, depending on how your system works. We have the end of month weeks of supply. So this kind of shows us where we're going to be inventory-wise for each item. We have on our on order by month or your WIP by month. And again, every one of these screens can be customized the way that you want to see it. The alert screen is probably the most compelling part here, because if you have hundreds of thousands of SKUs that you're looking through, this screen is going to help you prioritize action and kind of show you what's going on here. So you can see these are items that are most predicted to be out of stock. And you can see how often those items have been out of stock over different periods of time. If you've ever done this by hand, you know it takes a long time to do this. So this system is very smart. It's getting the information for you and bubbling it up to the top. Here's our lost sales panel. So we're seeing what's been lost. It's also understanding we're out now. How long am I going to be out of stock? So it's finding when I'm going to get back in stock and estimating sales up to that period of time so that we really can quantify how much we're going to miss and adjust the basis of our forecast for lost sales. If we want to study new parts or new items, this is a place to do that. The system also gives you the ability to enter a manual estimate. So if an item is completely new, maybe there's not another item that it's like. So we're going to assign our own item to it. Once the item starts selling, it will show you what reality is against what your original estimate is. And then you can tell the system, hey, now run off the system estimate versus the manual estimate that I put in. Down below here, we have some other inventory metrics, items that are over our target inventory and by how much. So those are problem items. We also have items that might be below a minimum on hand that we set. Maybe there's a quantity that we never want to be below. These are all different parameters that can be set up in the system, and then they're all tracked right here. Units with high weeks of supply. So you can kind of see on one screen all the different call-outs. And the parameters that are used in the screen, you can see they're kind of kept here. Very different types of parameters are here. We're not going to go through all of these, but you can kind of see you're assigning a seasonality curve to each item, whether or not to include lost sales, what the lead time is, a boost factor that could be plus or negative. That's kind of a manual adjustment. Minimums, overrides, so on and so forth, to help you manage the forecast and give you the greatest flexibility here. Then we have our seasonality curves. So each item is assigned to a curve. These curves can be derived automatically through an intelligent system. You can kind of see the different factors at play here for the different curves. So that's the forecast. The next piece is let's look at the lost sales again for just a moment, because we believe this is really important. And how it's deriving lost sales is going SKU by SKU, store by store. If this is brick and mortar, there's a different algorithm for e-commerce, but we have also e-commerce metrics for determining lost sales as well. But essentially what it's doing is looking at how many stores are out of stock right now, what different rates of sales are over different periods of time, and then it's tracking whether or not the lost sales is going up or down. And you can kind of see a red arrow going up means that lost sales increased last week compared to the last 6 weeks. And a green arrow down means our lost sales are improving. They're less than what they were over the 6-week period that we're looking at here. And then what's nice here is you'll notice the replenishment quantity. So the system is determining how many units need to go in a store right now. And you can alter that through this slider here with a weeks of supplier model. So I turn that and it changes our recommendations over here on the right in real time. So the thing that's great about this is not a slow system. All these calculations are done on our back end, and then we're just using Power BI to display the image and give some interaction for the user. Whoops, I clicked away by accident there. Let's look here at the on-hand tracking. And so again, this is by SKU store level. This shows how long an item has been out of stock in a particular store. So again, these are models. The system uses a couple of AI models here to help predict which items and which SKUs have the most potential to be out of stock, so that we can go focus on those items and fix the problem. And again, here we have a little more of a breakout of future lost sales, which we kind of talked about before. Before we end, one of the last things that I wanted to show is also if you use ladder planning or ERS's item planner module, this is a great tool that allows us to track a plan against actuals, a weekly plan, units, dollars, inventory, and margin. This all updates for us automatically and is constantly telling us whether we are going to be below or over plan, and it projects future weeks. So if you're 6 weeks into a program, it's going to tell you whether you're beating plan or missing plan in a very nice and easy to read recap. So again, what's nice about this system is you're not locked into specific screens, in a big enterprise application where if you said, oh, I want to add this field or that field or add a new value, you're not having to recode everything. That's the beauty of our model here between using our powerful backend and the power of Microsoft Power BI. One last thing that I want to show that I think is pretty cool is the price elasticity model. And what this allows us to do is by item and by group, it tells us what the net effect is when the price goes up or down by 1 penny. And this is very important information because it will enable us to find the optimal price for a particular item. So as I click on an item, you can see here that as price goes down by 5.5, you can see that, I'm sorry, yes, as the price goes down by 5.5, it has an effect of increasing 1 time in sales. And you can see in this model, sales go up close to 18% when the price is dropped. And so there's all different models here. This is based on a correlation model looking over multiple times, during the year. So I hope that this gives you a quick overview of how our systems work here and how the forecast works. If you have a Power BI license and you'd like to try it, please contact us and we'd be happy to set up a trial for you. Thanks and have a great day.